Hello, pre-calc. We're still having some trouble with some of these composite functions where you have more than one thing going on. So I just wanted to touch base on this one more time. And think of it like this. We're going to work inside of these parentheses and solve this very simple problem first. So we need to find the measure of the angle where the sine value, or the y, is equal to 1/2. So I'm looking through there, and we're also inverse, so it's positive, so we don't have to worry about that too much. I see a 1/2 that's a y, okay? And I see that that angle is here, which is pi 6. So I'm going to bring that down. I've solved what's inside the parenthesis, it's pi 6. Now just bring down the cosine. And now you're asking yourself, oh, well, what's the cosine value? And I see that it is in fact the square root of 3/2. So let's try another one. Again, it's going to be better if, and we'll get back to that in just a moment, we're going to solve for the angle first inside the parentheses, these parentheses right here. And so we want to find the measure of the angle where the cosine value is the square root of 2/2. That one's not as difficult because it's right here. And I know it's pi 4ths. So we'll bring that down. And then, so we're asking ourselves, well, what's the sine value at pi 4ths? Oh, well, it's the same thing. It was the square root of 2/2. So we'll try this one. And it's talking about the, again, work inside the parentheses. Inside the parentheses. So go to pi 3rds. All right, I'm there. Look at the cosine value. Remember, that's your x. That's right. So we're going to write 1/2 inside parentheses. And then it asks, all right, look at the unit circle again and tell me what's the measure of the angle. It wants an angle measure where the sine value is 1/2. Now we're looking for a y that's 1/2. Oh, I see you. You can't hide from me. And what angle are we at? We're at pi 6. That's how we got to pi 6. All right, let's try this again. The sine of pi 6. So what's the value of sine at pi 6? Go to pi 6. The y, or the sine, is 1/2. So we solve what's inside the parentheses. It's 1/2. And okay, well, tell me what's the angle, what's the measure of the cosine, or the angle where the cosine value is actually 1/2. So we go back up here, and I see cosine right there that's 1/2. And the measure of that angle is pi 3rds. Ta-da! Same thing here. This time we're looking at 7 pi 4ths. And it's still a legal thing because inside of the parentheses right here, when we look, it's talking about the original sine function. So we don't have to have a domain restriction there. So we go to 7 pi 4ths. It's way over here. Now, the sine value is going to be negative square root of 2/2. And up, there's my Zoey. She had to say good evening to all of y'all. And so we'll put the sine of -1. So we're now looking back at the same circle, but we're solving a brand new problem. We're looking at where is the sine value a -2/2. Now we're looking at the same place, but we have a domain restriction when it comes to this. You have to be in between pi 4ths, pi halves and negative pi halves. So we're simply going to call, instead of 7 pi 4ths, we're going to call it by its negative angle, which is negative pi 4ths. Remember that if you see arc cosine, it means the same thing. It means like we're looking for the angle. So it may as well say cosine -1. So let's work inside the parentheses first. We're going to go to pi thirds, and we're going to find out what the sine value is. All right, I'm at pi thirds. I see a sine value. It's the square root of 3 over 2. So I write square root of 3 over 2, and then I'm going to write, okay, so what is the arc measure, or the arc cosine? What's the measure of that angle? Where the cosine value is the square root of 3 over 2. And I go looking for it. Well, here's cosine value where it's square root of 3 over 2. And there's its measure, which is pi 6. Now, I hear you, Zoe. You can go to bed, baby. All right, so we need to find where tangent is -1. Now remember we had to divide in our tangent values when you divide y over x. This is the easy one, 1. The square root of 3 was this one up here. Most of y'all have memorized these by now because we've done them so much. And that one's the square root of 3 over 3, right? So we know that we are at pi thirds, right? Inside, if we're looking for if we find tangent where it's pi square root of 3. So if we simplify what's inside the parentheses, we know it's pi thirds. And we're still lingering up there. Tell me what the sine value is. It's the square root of 3 over 2, Miss Womack. Good job. That's your answer. Square root of 3 over 2. So here's another one. The tangent of -1. Now, we hear you, Zoe. We hear you. I don't know if there's a train or deer outside. I'm going with deer. So our tangent value at -1 is going to be in this position. I hope you have changed that to -pi fourths. But we'll put it on there, 7 pi fourths if you want to, or -pi fourths. But it is asking for the measure of the angle. We can put 7 pi fourths. That'll be fine on this one. Because, see, we don't have an inverse here, so there's no restriction. So we know our answer is going to be the x value right down there, which is square root of 2 over 2. So here's another one, and we will want to go to where cosine is pi. So go to the pi symbol. What's the cosine value? Why, Miss Womack, it is -1. Simplify what's inside the parentheses. Now, tell me, what's the measure of the angle where the value of tangent is -1? Well, this is where the value of tangent is -1, right here. Now, the only thing we have here is we do have a domain restriction, so we can't call it 7 pi fourths. We got to call it -pi fourths. So I hope this helps you with this one. Also, just remember, I'm going to go over this one if you happen to see on the test. Tangent, let's say you have a tangent, parentheses of tangent, and a value, a number. It could be 5, we've seen 5, we could see a decimal, we could see anything of -1, and then put, I don't know, it could be anything. How about 9.2? I think we saw that one today on the quiz. So when you see this, what ends up happening, just remember that rule that we talked about in class. Those are going to cancel out. These will cancel out, and your answer will be 9.2. If it's negative, then it would have been -9.2. So those are a lot easier than you think. Good luck. It's just a mini test. This is the only concept that's going to be on it. Trig identities coming up next.